All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to is what I believe episode 6 of
Yeah.
Fitness Decoded. Today is a little bit of a not a special episode, but a different kind of format of episode. We're going to be trying to test out here. It's not going to be as informative and as seminar-like as the previous ones have been. This is just going over a variety of different topics, sort of things we care about, and just kind of shooting the shit a little bit. The informal name of uh, what we've decided to call an episode like this would be just barbells and bullshit, because that's what we're here to do. We're just gonna be hanging out, obviously with each other, hanging out with you guys. If you are watching live, feel free to type in chat if you're here. Um, but yeah, we've got a few different topics today. Obviously, in the title, there's a few of them, but things we're going to go over: VR fitness, sort of the future of wearable technology, where that's going to go. Just kind of our own take about what's going on in the world right now, and specifically where we live as well. Um, how we're kind of dealing with that, especially fitness related, and how that kind of affects both of our professions and passions, and sort of what we're doing to kind of get around that. Kind of our goals for, or obviously our careers, and obviously this channel as well, and where we want to take this. Uh, I know David, huge soccer fan. We're gonna go over the European Super League and what the hell is going on with that,
Yes, sir.
and some things, and also that I kind of want to brush up on is like kind of diet culture. I've been spending a lot of time on TikTok. We are on TikTok now. I post podcast highlights and stuff, as well as stuff from my personal Twitch channel as well. That's Mattis TTV on TikTok, so go ahead and follow us there. I've been seeing a lot of people sort of promoting different fitness products and weight loss products, and a lot of it does not seem to be very genuine, or at least like I've been doing some research, and we'll go into that a little bit later, about like what exactly it is they're selling, and like it's kind of effective, but like the way that they're promoting it is not the way that it's meant to be used, essentially. And then if we even have time, we'll go over kind of in that same vein, fitness influencers, and in our pre podcast, like the very first episode that we did, just talking about how we're going to do that. I kind of brought up, this is something that I wanted to talk about, fitness influencers and kind of the impact that they have on our profession and on the views and the self-image of the people who follow them. So I guess let's jump into a topic here. um,
I mean, if you want to continue our conversation about fandomy stuff before we get into
yeah,
serious things.
so we'll talk about some nerd stuff here to begin with, just because previous to going live, me and David were just talking about this, and recently, I've had a lot of time on my hands because obviously it's a pandemic. We're shut down, so I'm spending a lot of time at home, clearly. So what I decided to do was I would rewatch the entirety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I think it was like there's like 20 movies or something. No, there's definitely not 20 movies. Maybe there's 20
There, hold, on,
movies.
hold, on, hold on. Let me pull up the official figure here.
All I know is it took me about 3 days of when, like, I'm not even joking when I say this. I woke up, got on Disney Plus, and just started to the point where I went to bed. Like, it was from wake up to sleep. I just watched movies the entire day, for 3 days straight. It was fantastic. But
One, hold up, hold. So you watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Jesus Christ, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, minus Captain Marvel. Did you watch The Incredible Hulk? Because that one kind of is like,
okay,
kind of count, kind of
that's
doesn't.
not MCU. I didn't.
Yeah.
That's like standalone movies. I didn't watch any like the standalone. I only watched the MCU stuff. So all everything that's in the Avengers and all the standalone
Okay.
movies
Okay.
that they have. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So 20 around there, 20
Yeah.
plus. Yeah.
I watched around 20 movies in about 3 days. Um, and yeah, it was an experience. So like obviously like I did it in timeline order, so like MCU timeline order. So I didn't start with like the very first movie that came out, which was Iron Man. I actually skipped the first Iron Man 2 because I think I've seen that movie like at least 50 times, so I can recite it by heart. There was no reason for me to rewatch it. But no, I started with like the very first Captain America movie, and then uh, just went all the way, finished with Avengers Endgame, and then I've recently been watching the new Falcon and Winter Soldier show on Disney Plus too, which is pretty good.
I
Uh,
forgot that's a series.
yeah,
I forgot
it's
that's
not
a
bad.
thing.
It's really not bad. But yeah, mostly I watched from Captain America all the way to Endgame, and I gotta say, I think that was like a period of like 10 years of movies, and like I'm
Yeah,
I'm blown away like how far in advance they planned everything. Like even like the Thanos stuff, like that was already being set up in like 2012. 2013 they were already setting up the Thanos stuff for Infinity War and Endgame. So I gotta commend them a lot for really having that foresight. Um, Definitely, it's something that I recommend. Disney Plus even has like it curated, so you can watch it in timeline order. That's why I did it. But yeah, if you have 3 whole days on your on hand, then I highly suggest just going through and watching like the entire MCU, because it definitely made me appreciate the movies more. And like movies like previously, I had never watched any of the Thor movies. I just did not care about Thor, so like Thor 1, 2, and 3, didn't watch them. To be fair, the first two Thor movies were but the third one's really good.
they just completely like what they threw in, like, what's his name, Taika Waititi, and they're like, yeah, have fun, do your thing.
Yeah, honestly, it was a great time. I was looking forward to the Thor movies in the lineup. Um, Actually, I think I did also skim through some movies. Like I skimmed through Doctor Strange. Uh,
I love that. No, you gotta watch the full one. Well,
no,
actually, I lied. It
you
kind
don't.
of moves kind of weird.
Like like basically I just watched like the movies I wanted to skim through. I just watched the end credit scenes because those were more important than the movie itself, really.
Mhm.
Um, I watched like half of Black Panther and got bored. Um, to be honest, like I saw it when it came out. Like I saw it in theaters, and I said it then. I'll still say it now. Black Panther is not that good of a movie.
It's a hot take. I'm trying to think.
It is a
About
hot take,
it.
and that is my full and honest take. Black Panther is not that good.
I'm trying to think. When I watched it, when you first watch it, it's just like, holy shit, this is really cool.
Yeah,
I think I like I like the character of T'Challa better in the Avengers than in Black Panther.
yeah. Like
Like,
I liked him better in Civil War,
mm,
because that was when he was first introduced.
yeah, that's when he was first introduced. Honestly, yeah, kind. I think. Fuck, do I remember? How about not Endgame? What's it called? In the one before Endgame,
Infinity War.
in Infinity War. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like
You know
he
what?
was much better in like in Infinity War, because like the whole thing basically took place in Wakanda as well. So
Pretty much top top MCU movie.
first Iron Man,
First Iron Man.
easily, easily.
I think for me, I think it's Captain America. I
Which
think the
one?
first,
The
the
first
first
one?
one. Really, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, kind of. I don't know. If like in terms of Captain America movies, I'd have to say Winter Soldier is my favorite,
It's
just because
definitely, you could
I
say
think Winter
more
Soldier
interesting.
was definitely one of the better made uh, Marvel movies.
I actually like Age of Ultron, even though a lot of people may disagree.
No,
I actually,
I like Age of Ultron too.
yeah, I like the concept. Maybe like the execution wasn't like perfect. Um, ooh, this is a good one. Endgame or Infinity War?
Definitely Endgame.
Yeah, I'd say. I think it just felt like there was more at stake. It was like, shit, somebody actually can like Black Widow's gone, like, for real, like, she's
Yeah,
actually dead.
I don't know. I like the only reason I don't say Endgame is my favorite Marvel movie is because it feels like a cop out. Because like Endgame is like five movies in one.
pretty much.
So just like everyone would say, "Oh, I liked Endgame." It's like, well, yeah, because it had every single superhero you in the entire MCU in it. Like, obviously, it's going to appeal to absolutely everyone. But that's it's not fair to say, "Oh, Endgame is the best," because yes, but also it's only good because it's had all of these movies building up to this final event.
You basically just got like just the full team up, and just it's as fan servicey as it gets, but in a good way.
Yeah. Oh, oh, remember that scene in like the final battle when like all the girl superheroes come together and like
Yes.
they do their
Yeah.
action pose? Like that kills me every time. It's like I understand it, you know, I get it, but at the same time, like
It didn't feel forced though. I will say that. It did.
it
It did kind of. It had
it
its
felt
place.
like
It was quick.
you can do the same message in a much better shot, but the way they did it felt so forced down my throat, and every time I see that scene I'm just like, oh, this hurts.
It's just kind of like a little footnote for me. Like it's just like, oh, okay.
Like it doesn't detract from anything, but it did. I don't know. That's my take on that. But yeah, overall, like, I do love Endgame, and I think, especially like, I guess spoilers if you haven't seen this 2-year-old movie, but Iron Man dies at the end. Um, his death definitely hits harder when you spend 3 whole days watching the entire MCU and like 7 different Iron Man movies. So like Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. You've got all the Avengers movies. Avengers. Honestly, the first Avengers was really good. I'll be honest. Like I hadn't seen it since it came out, and I rewatched it. Obviously, going through this, and like I really enjoyed it.
I also appreciate like when we were talking about earlier like how everything's tied in.
Yeah,
You know how in Endgame like they fuck up the timeline because Loki like they try to grab the fucking Tesseract and Loki just grabs it and he's like I'm out of here, see ya.
yeah.
Now have you seen the trailer for the new Loki movie where it's, like he's
I skimmed it. I didn't really watch it.
basically the like the premise is just like okay, the timeline needs to be corrected now because of
Yeah,
all that nonsense that was going on. So now he's kind of like not by choice. He's kind of entrusted with like okay, time to fix the timeline.
yeah.
So
I remember I had a lot of uh, issues with the whole time travel premise in Endgame, but like I don't think, well, time travel itself is a paradox, so you can't really accurately portray something like that. One thing I just recently, I don't know if you've seen it. It's a series on Netflix called Dark, and the only reason I've been holding off on it was because it was all in German. You can put like English dub on, but watching English dubs of live action shows just is bad, and I don't suggest it. So I obviously watched it in German with subtitles, and you get used
probably
to
just
it.
sounded a lot more aggressive than it actually was.
Yeah, but no, on like honestly, uh, that's definitely like a top 10 show for me. But it basically just follows the whole idea of time travel, and like time travel is a loop, so like the beginning is the end and the end is the beginning, and it just goes around in a circle. It's really confusing, and to really understand it you have to watch like all 3 seasons of it, and like by the end you feel enlightened, but to be able to explain it's basically impossible. But if you are looking for an accurate depiction, not accurate because time travel is not a thing, but depiction of time travel that you can kind of understand eventually, I would highly suggest watching Dark on Netflix. But yeah, the way they did it in Endgame, it was just kind of like they made their own rules and then broke them and then didn't care. Like it just
But
seemed so nonchalant with the way that they did everything.
now they have a movie where they're gonna try and fix it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind. Endgame was kind of the end of the MCU,
At least
for me.
this fate. Yeah, you could say that now.
Because
It's just
like
kind of like with Iron Man.
all the heroes that people actually cared about are gone. Like there's no Captain America. Well, I'm not gonna spoil it, but there is Captain America in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but like it's not the
It's
Captain
not.
America.
Yeah,
Iron
it's
Man's
not
done.
Christian.
You got the Spider-Man stuff coming out, which is kind of interesting. I think.
What's going on? It's like there's like crossover. Like, is it another time multi-universe something
Yeah,
thing
so
that's going on?
it's like a multiverse thing. I think it's with Doctor Strange as well, which makes sense because that's kind of Doctor Strange's whole
Yeah.
thing, basically. But
Apparently, like what Toby Maguire's getting brought back.
so
What's his name? Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, like all the different Spider-Mans. I think that should be interesting. I'll see it. It seems highly ambitious, but so far, they've been getting real experimental with it. Like I tried
Yeah,
watching WandaVision. Not real. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure if you're a diehard Marvel fan, you'd probably love WandaVision, but like I'm not like I'm not a diehard Marvel fan, so I don't really care about all the subtle little nods in WandaVision. I just want a compelling story and action and entertainment basically out of my MCU stuff. So WandaVision is not for me, but yeah, I've been enjoying the Falcon and the Winter Soldier stuff and am looking forward to the next phase. Kind of. I don't know. Like they've ruled out all the cool superheroes and now they're just saying, "Hey, look at these cool sidekick B story characters. What if we gave them full stories?" It's like I can appreciate the
I just
storytelling,
realized
but
we don't have Black Panther anymore either.
yeah, there's no Black Panther.
Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman.
Unless they make somebody else Black Panther, which they could do, because I mean that's the
Probably,
whole
probably
thing.
his sister.
Like that's the whole thing about Black Panther, right? Like it's not just
Unless,
one guy; it's passed down. So when one dies, somebody takes the mantle of Black Panther. So I'm sure that if they really wanted to, they could write that in somewhere. But
just time travel Killmonger back in.
uh, like the thing that bothered me the most about Black Panther that they've done in other Marvel movies too, and this seems to be like a common trope in Marvel is like, what if the villain was basically exactly like the hero, but evil? So it's like Black Panther, you have Black Panther, but evil Black Panther. Ant-Man, you have Ant-Man, but evil Ant-Man.
Doctor Strange, but
I
group of evil Doctor Stranges and other. Well, okay, no, it's had a distinction, but kind of the same thing.
like all the Iron Man movies are like, what if Iron Man fought people who made their own Iron Man suit?
What if Iron Man fought Lex Luthor?
It's like, what if it's like Iron Man but fights evil Iron Man? That's basically the whole premise of all three Iron Man movies. So it's just kind of, I don't know,
You know, now I see that. I didn't take that in. It's like, even the first Captain America. Super Soldier fights Red Super Soldier.
fights super soldier. Like it's every Marvel movie is just basically main hero fights evil version of main hero, which does get just so tiring. I think that's why Infinity War and Endgame were at least compelling
Besides,
because
maybe Guardians of the Galaxy.
yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, because like once we start getting outside of like Earth, like the Earth realm of the MCU, and like
It gets interesting.
it gets interesting because like you're fighting like aliens and stuff, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Is that,
that's
that's enough.
basically
That's enough Marvel talk.
yeah, that's basically how I've been keeping busy in my pandemic. What about you? What have you been up to?
I remember we talked about we you said how you like how everything's kind of interconnected with the MCU and shit.
Yeah,
I'm just I can't help but think back, and it's just like why couldn't the Star Wars sequels be done the same way? It's like why couldn't they have the same level of planning?
that would have been very nice.
Just like, I don't know. Do you want to get into Star Wars, or is that for another?
That's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah.
I could talk about Star Wars for 10 years. I have an entire lifetime of Star Wars feelings built up inside of me.
Me too. All right. Ba-da-ba-da-ba.
It's,
Let's move from
moving
let's
on.
move from something equally as divisive to even more divisive. Ontario.
Yeah, so
Ontario.
I guess not just Ontario, but the world, because this is a global issue, and especially if we have global viewers. But I guess for context, where David and I live, we live in the province of Ontario, which is in Canada, and well, we're not doing so hot. I'll put it
No,
that
we're
way.
not.
In cases, in leadership, in public response, everything seems to be going the worst it possibly can be. Uh, and there's not really, I don't really see a way out of this until more people get vaccinated, which I think was the government's plan, but they banked on having enough vaccines, which we don't, so here we are.
I think what was it called? I know Doug Ford was he asked, I think, Trudeau and the federal government, like, hey, we need more vaccines, and the federal government was like, we can give you the Red Cross. and that was the whole thing why he said no. I've spoken to other people who said like no, like he said no to vaccines and the Red Cross, or he
Well,
simply just said
Doug Ford
no.
asks for the
I
Red
want more
Cross, and then when
vaccines.
Trudeau said yes, you can have Red Cross, he then said, "Never mind, we don't need Red Cross."
We don't need Red Cross. They don't have enough. They'll have nothing to do because we have no vaccines or not enough, or I don't know. Are we just moving too slow? I'm not honestly too educated on that.
We're a big issue was with the AstraZeneca vaccine was people are now starting to vaccine shop, so they're picking and choosing which vaccines they want. Um, which so we have an entire stockpile of the AstraZeneca vaccine that nobody wants because they want the Pfizer or the Moderna.
Yeah,
Or I think the Johnson and Johnson's out of circulation now because of a thing,
temporarily right now.
but yeah, no, people are uh, vaccine shopping, which to me is ridiculous because we have the vaccines. People just don't want that specific one.
What was the issue with the AstraZeneca one again?
So, something about people 55 plus it causes issues with, but if you're like not 55 plus, then you're fine getting the AstraZeneca vaccine.
I just want to pull it up real quick because I know what the Johnson & Johnson one was like. They had to pull back because of like very select people like having very rare what's it called blood clots, and it was only affecting like women over a certain like younger women between a certain age. I don't know if it had something to do with like birth control or whatever, but it was like a very small sample size over like millions that have been distributed. But they were like, okay, we need to pull back just in case.
Yeah,
And I was kind of hearing people's like different opinions who are like, excuse me, like they probably shouldn't have pulled out because it's kind of created like this hysteria about the Johnson & Johnson one that didn't need to be there, that have kind of like dissuaded people from getting vaccinated when it only affected a small group of people. But at the same time, they have to pause because it's just like, well, they need to get more data and information to make sure, like anybody who dies is kind of as a result of misinformation or not enough information given to the doctors, kind of an issue, even if like, it prevents a shit ton of people from getting vaccinated.
yeah. I don't know. There's just so much misinformation floating around. Like even for myself, like I have confidence in the vaccines, but hearing so many conflicting opinions and supposed facts on all the vaccines, I try my best to just tune it out at this point. But if you're somebody who is glued to social media and getting all your facts from social media, it can be very confusing to try and weed out what's true and what's not true. And I think that's part of the reason why we're in this situation is because of misinformation and
Yeah.
I'm sure uh, as the good Ontarian that you are, you follow Six Buzz on Instagram.
Of, of course, only on my spam account, so people don't know I do.
But I think, yeah, no, I get for people who don't know, Six Buzz is an Instagram account. It's a huge like Instagram, basically like
Canadian
news
World
account.
Star.
Basically like World Star, but for uh, our specific region in Canada. Well, not. I mean, they cover things outside of Canada, but like it's supposed
It's
to be like
it's
Toronto news.
realistically it's like GTA World. It's GTA World Star.
Yeah, it's lame as hell. But those comment sections are a breeding ground
It's so much
for
fun.
for
So
oh I like I've gotten it in many arguments in that comment section of just the pure levels of stupidity that you can observe by going into those comment sections. It's shocking, uh, but
it's
also
the point though.
yeah.
That's the point of Six Buds.
I mean, is it though? Because it almost seems like
No, because they're a quote unquote news site. You need and they're like if it's like
their headlines are
TMZ
purposely created to incite the
drama.
yeah, basically the conspiracy theorists to go into their comments and start throwing out all their stuff. And but to me, that does not seem helpful in the situation that we're in, because there are people who will look at these comments. Like I see these comments, they have hundreds if not thousands of likes on them, of people basically saying the governments are reptiles and their plan is to euthanize all of us, which I don't see how that's even a good plan if that is the plan. Because notice how like if you were to ask any of these people, like people say, oh, the government, it's all part of their plan. It's like, okay, so what is the end goal of this plan? They never seem to know. Like, okay, if the government is doing this on purpose,
What do
why?
they? What do
Like,
they gain?
what
You
what
know,
is what is the end goal? Why would they be doing this? People never seem to explain why. They always just say, "Oh, the government is trying to control you," but like, why? it,
I
it
think something to remember is when was the goal of media to create a nice place for discourse and discussion?
I mean, that's true. It's never been, and like these people have always existed, but I think more and more and more, they're being given a platform to spew misinformation and fake news, as they call it, and it's frustrating because like there are people who like I'm sure I know in real. I mean, there are people who I know. I've talked to you about this before. People who I've looked up to as role models and inspirations in my career as well, and now they've gone and turned like anti-vax, conspiracy nuts, and they're basically just that's all their social media is these days is wake up sheeple type posts, and it's really sad to see because like these are people who it's not just crackpots on the internet that you've never met. These are people who uh, that are actually going at that you had no idea they had these kind of views. And
It's like when you have that one friend who gets like involved in a pyramid scheme, and you don't really know how to tell them it's a pyramid scheme.
yeah,
It's
but
just like, I don't know, man. I don't really feel like paying 19.99 to. No, what am I saying? Like $400 a month to your mentorship program. I don't know. I
but
don't
yeah,
know about that.
it's actually a little bit crazy that these previously discarded views about the world are now being taken more and more seriously, and I think that's a huge reason why we're in this because people just don't. I don't know. Like people like recently we had the talks about the curfew, right? And like the police being given the power to stop you on the street and ask why you're out, even though they're not actually going to do that because no police officer is ever going to do that, and they've all the police departments have said, yeah, we're not going to do that. But like people are saying, oh, like the whole idea of vaccine passports as well. It's like, oh well, my rights are being taken away, my freedom is being taken away. But my response to that is, you gave away your freedom when you decided not to comply the first time. You know, we're a year into this pandemic and we're worse than when we started, when we went into lockdown the first time, and it's far worse than that. At this point, the like I don't really care about your freedom because you sacrificed your freedom when you decided not to care the first time. We could be done, right? You look at countries like Australia who like they talk about COVID in past tense. It's not even a thing there anymore. It's done because
New Zealand, they shut. Well, obviously they're an island. Also, is my audio good?
yeah, it's fine.
Okay, like New Zealand, like they just shut it down, and they
Pretty
were just
much.
like, that's it. We're just shutting it down, and that now they were good. I guess I remember I saw somebody say this. Canadians like don't necessarily have like one united identity, so it's kind of hard to do that to just be like get everybody on board.
Yeah.
But you also have to take into account that the government is kind of they have shown our boy Doug Ford has shown signs of his incompetency and the fact that they never really had a plan to begin with, and now they're just kind of like, throwing shit at the fan and seeing what sticks. You
One
know,
yeah, one comment that they had made that was absolutely mind-boggling to me was uh, basically they said we're we have the predictions, we have the modeling, but we're not going to do anything about it until the predictions come true. That is what our own government said. They said we know that there's a very good chance that our hospitals and ICUs are going to be overloaded, but we're not going to take action until they become overloaded. And now they're overloaded. And we're in this situation. ICU numbers are going up and up and up. I think we're almost at like 800 now, and I think GCA capacity is like 1200 or something.
aren't they like from what I understand, like they're having to if you have this may not be true or not, but they're reaching the point where it's just like if you have less than a 70% chance of dying and you're on a ventilator or something, you might be deprioritized to somebody else who has a
Well,
greater chance of surviving.
yeah, they're having to do emergency triage in our ICUs, and having to decide basically who lives, who dies,
That's what
because
Italy had to do.
yeah, and that was a year ago, and we could have learned from that. We could have said, hey, this is what Italy had to do. Let's try to avoid that. But instead, it's almost as though we did everything in our power to make sure we ended up in the exact same situation.
What I remember they also released information on where things were being like their new modeling shows that where outbreaks. Since I pulled it up, um, wasn't it like what construction sites, schools? Um, oh, here it was. In Peel region, restaurants accounted for about 3% of all outbreaks, compared to grocery and retail 19%, schools and daycares 20%, and industrial settings 22%.
Yep.
And
Um,
the whole thing about the schools is the other thing where it's just like, are you kidding me? Like now, finally, now, like schools are probably shut probably for the rest of the year.
they're definitely no. They've already said like they will not be going back to school for in-person learning.
I mean, like I just don't understand. Like, at what point did you think like, oh, these younger kids, they can be trusted, but universities and stuff, no, 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 we're closing those. We're closing those. Adults, no, 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 no. Kids, yeah, I remember I was commenting with my friends. In fact, one of my friends, his mom's a teacher, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm kind of just waiting for myself to get COVID at this point, so I'm just kind of hoping I get vaccinated soon, because just like when you're working in that setting, it's kind of like an assumption, like, okay, yeah, I'll probably get COVID from one of these little these little COVID carriers."
Yeah, but
I don't know. Like I said, they never had a plan to begin with, and they seem to not want to move in a direction of paid sick leave. I understand, the deficit, this and that, debt and stuff, but like at this point, I don't really see what else you're gonna do
yeah, I don't know.
besides keep things like that closed.
I think for me, I guess the biggest impact, and for you as well, is the impact on our industry, the fitness industry. Because even when things do open back up, I don't. It's going to be very difficult for a lot of these places to recover. Like a lot of gyms, obviously, um, all of that stuff, because they've been hit very hard because they've been basically closed since the beginning. They open up for a few weeks, and then cases get high, they get shut down again.
I mean, like the only places that'll survive are commercial chains.
Yeah, basically.
Well, for they'll most likely, other places like it's either you adapt it to online or it's just like, well, I guess we got to close down for sure and liquidate all our assets and sell everything again, because you don't necessarily you have no income coming in if you have nothing online going on. Which as a small business, you probably should have been working on that, but obviously the pandemic that accelerated anybody's plans, and the fact now that we gotta go through like these like cyclical lockdowns where
Mm-hmm.
we get like businesses get like 3 days notice. It's just like, how can you possibly plan ahead of time for that? You can't. You literally cannot.
You
So
can't.
I guess that's another point. I think everybody's kind of starting to clue in. Like small businesses clearly aren't being prioritized right now in regards to their overall success, and we're kind of seeing like these big box stores, Costco's, the WalMarts, you know, kind of reaping the rewards.
Yep.
And just overall, just the wealth gap in general, just kind of continually opening up, taking advantage just of this whole COVID pandemic, which a lot of people would be like, oh no, this is a conspiracy, eliminate this and that. I don't think it was a conspiracy in that sense. I just think businesses and philanthropists, they take advantage of any situation they can to make more money.
I mean, yeah, that's our dare I say, our government is corrupt, or at least heavily influenced by the money,
Who
uh,
would have thought?
the money that they're given by showing favor to the big box stores, the corporations, who are probably their campaign donors and stuff like that. But I don't know. I know, I know,
I'm
I know,
not.
I know they
Sorry, go
say
ahead.
don't, buy locally, don't do the whole Amazon thing, but it's like, listen, local stores are not going to give me free same day delivery over a wide variety of items. Like that is my take. Like, yes, I would like to support local businesses, but like how, like they can't, like, I don't know. Recently I've started buying things from Best Buy just because they have like they have really good shipping, and it's easy enough to return if it does. Actually, not now because they're closed, but um, like that is the most local that I'll shop. But even that, it's not even local. It's Best Buy. It's a huge box store. But the fact of the matter is like, yeah, the mom and pop stores are suffering, but what do they really have that I can't just get easier from Amazon or Best Buy or Walmart and stuff like that?
Pretty
Online as
much.
well. I don't know. Like I don't want to wait
Yeah.
5 days to get a small item that I just ordered. You know, that's
Yeah,
just that's my
something
personal
that
privilege.
I've been trying to do, I guess, is food is like the number one thing. I'll try and go like a little smaller,
Food,
more local.
yes. Like I don't know if I guess you've lived here long enough to know about the Apple Factory, right?
I, mean, I no, actually, I don't.
Really? Okay.
No, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
The Apple Factory. It's like on the, like it's on like the edge of the city, like between Brampton and Georgetown, basically. Um, but no, it's like this. It's been there for before you and I were born, um, and like I remember going there as a kid and everything. Um, but yeah, basically it's like a farmer's market essentially. So they sell like
Oh, okay.
local produce and stuff like that. So I've been meaning to make my way out there and start buying stuff from there as well because it's good stuff and it's all local, and I'd be supporting local businesses, and that's one place that I would absolutely hate to see go out of business as well. Although
Yeah.
I don't think they really would because I mean they sell food and groceries and stuff. So uh,
Yeah, food is one of those things where it's just kind of like not recession proof, but like people will buy really no matter what, to a certain extent.
yeah, but yeah, no,
Um, yeah,
I'm definitely planning a trip out there one of these days. I'm just gonna load up on like local produce. Obviously, it's Apple Factory, so they have like an orchard in the back. So like they sell like apple pies, stuff like that. So I'm gonna be grabbing a whole bunch of baked goods, uh, all that stuff. But yeah,
yeah,
like I try to support locally where I can. But the fact of the matter is just everywhere around us is convenience by big box store, right?
pretty much. I mean, like, I guess maybe like the last little bit on this whole pandemic talk is just like, if your friends have like a small business, help them out.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten my haircut from the same guy since like grade 12, so like the last 3 years, from the exact same guy, even when he works at the barber shop or when he cuts from home. You know, like so like stuff like that. When it comes to paying him, I never like I don't know. I've never been one when I buy things from like my friends to ask for like a discount.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if anything, like because you're my friend, I will pay you more.
Yeah.
Just because like I really want you to kind of continue what you're doing and give you an extra incentive where it's just like I see what you're doing. And I really hope this kind of continues.
Yeah. I haven't gotten a
So yeah,
haircut in like 2 years, so I'm not like super bummed about not
yeah,
being able to get a haircut. I mean, also because like I don't know, I have this weird thing where like there was like only one person I ever trusted to like cut my hair.
yeah,
This woman like where I used to live, but she retired, so now I have no choice if I do want to get a haircut to find someone else to cut my hair. But uh, I don't think that's gonna happen for a while, anyways. But
a barber is like one of those things where it's like when you find a good barber, it's just like you can't cheat on them. You can't cheat on
it's
them.
sacred. Like literally,
Yeah,
like obviously I live in the city now. That was out in the country. It's like an hour and a half drive up there. I would, and obviously it's where my parents live too. Not saying I use it as an excuse, or using visiting my parents as an excuse to get my haircut, but I'm like, I might as well while I'm there. It's like
yeah,
I'm going an hour and a half north just to get a haircut because I don't trust anyone else to touch my hair.
yeah. It's weird. It's like one of those things where it's just like it's like I guess maybe with like mechanics and stuff as well. When you find somebody who you trust to do something right, it's just like I don't want to go through the pain of getting screwed over by somebody else.
Like I remember when I was younger, I went to like this barber in like the mall, um, and like that was back when I didn't have long hair. Like for pretty much like 17, 16 years of my life, I basically had a buzz cut. That was it,
Yeah.
just a number two all over. That was it. Simplest haircut in the world. Just go
Yeah.
number two all over. You just put the clipper on and go boop boop boop, done, easy. Somehow this guy managed to fuck up a number two.
Did you push your hairline too far back?
He did. Like out here, I went to school and I just like I ended up like with a fucking LeBron hairline.
Ooh.
Like it was so bad. I'm like, how do you mess this up? It's just a number two.
Oh shit! Wait, hold up. Do you know who Schroeder is on the Lakers?
Yeah.
Have you seen like what his hairline before he joined from Atlanta?
No.
Or before it was so bad before he joined OKC from Atlanta. It was horrible. That shit was in the middle of the top of his head.
Jeez. Yeah, no, it was a straight up LeBron James hairline. It was not good.
Jesus
But,
Christ.
Yeah, that event solidified my reasoning about never letting anyone else touch my hair because clearly they can't be trusted to do so.
Yeah. I guess okay. I want to guess like one final thought on like the Ontario situation and stuff like that.
Sure.
Like my own personal opinion about getting the vaccine. Currently, where I live, I'm in a high risk area, so I believe people on 18 and older are now available to get their vaccine. What vaccine it is, I have no idea. I know my dad. He has an appointment scheduled for this week, so he's the first person in my household who's going to get it. And then my mom, and then for myself. This is where I stand. I probably stand 70-30, 70% in favor, 30% against getting the vaccine. My reasons in favor are, well, for, I guess, everybody's safety for the most part. In regards to my faith in the actual vaccines themselves, I don't think there's some global plot. There's no microchip in those vaccines. The scientists have literally done the best that they possibly could to get it done this fast.
I'm ready to get my 5G reception from a vaccine.
My 6. If I don't have unlimited data after this, I'm gonna be upset.
I'm awake every time I wake up. I hear the Windows XP startup sound.
It's blaring. You blink twice to turn down the volume. But yeah, so the reason, like, again, this has been accelerated so fast just because there's so much money involved and such a dire need, where the research was just like, oh shit, we need to get this done fast, so my level of faith in the scientists that their intentions are good are obviously there. I don't think this is like some global plot. Yeah. However, the line that they had to cross, or the of course the standard of the vaccine, is simply not that you can't catch COVID, because you can still catch COVID with the vaccine. The chances are very low. Most of them have like a 60% or 90% like effectiveness rate. The standard they have to hit is like you don't end up in the ICU and you won't die from COVID, which is 100%. All of them do that. Nobody who is caught COVID with the vaccine has died, which is like, okay, that's amazing. So in that case, if you're worried about, which vaccine is better, unless we're talking about the blood clot situation from AstraZeneca or Johnson & Johnson, probably even too much of a debatable thing unless you're like a very small population. Yeah. Any vaccine is something you should get, Maybe not the weird China one that's kind of out, but like any of the Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Moderna, or AstraZeneca, I would get it, if you're an at-risk person. For myself, I'm a fairly healthy young person. It doesn't necessarily excuse me from getting screwed over by COVID. But my chances of being seriously fucked up from catching COVID likely are fairly low. And personally, I guess the skeptic in me is just thinking, we obviously have not had any time to determine, what are any long-term adverse effects, or have any long-term case studies done on, long-term like recipients of this vaccine, because obviously there hasn't enough time been done, and they're probably already getting on with the research in regards to that. So my personal opinion is, I guess I'll just wait out as long as I can. Might seem a little bit selfish, I guess, to a certain extent, but I'm still social distancing. I'm keeping my mask on. I'm not really going anywhere. I say maybe 2-3 people a week in person. Yeah. So like my harm on the community is very low. I'm not really. I'm being cautious mainly for everybody else's sake, because I'm fairly confident for my own well-being. But I'd prefer just, I guess, to wait until, vaccine passports actually become a thing, where it's a necessity for me to go back to school if I need a surgery or something, or if I need to travel. At that point, it's just like, okay, I need to go get it. But yeah, I guess also part of me is just kind of prolonging, because my uneducated self really has no right to, I guess, even come with a final determinant. I'm 100% sure, because again, I'm not a damn epidemiologist. I'm not involved in the formulation of these vaccines, so I'll never be privy to the information of like what's really going on that'll make me 100% sure. So
True.
that's where I stand. Realistically, it's just kind of I will wait and see, and I guess I just don't like being a guinea pig, even though they've gone through hundreds of thousands of millions of doses already distributed throughout like the world. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's my stance.
It's a reasonable view to have, I think. Certainly more reasonable than, there's microchips in the vaccine.
Yeah.
Bill Gates wants to control us all, which you see all the time, and with the Grand Master Plan, I think.
Well, we were more worried about Amazon.
Yeah, but I think I saw, maybe there was Six Buzz, like people were saying like it was going to become the next Holocaust. Like they were comparing what the government is doing, like basically telling you to wear a mask, to what Hitler did to the Jews. And I'm like,
I can't breathe.
Like that is not a comparison whatsoever. They are not taking your rights away by asking you to wear a mask.
Yeah, I mean, people like that I don't even consider even like a worth the breath engaging, because it's just like I don't
Like
see you
there are some
debating
comments that
from
I see,
a
I'm like, you are very clearly delusional.
yeah. It's just like people like that. It's just like a waste of time. I'd rather just talk to people in the middle. Small business owners who are like, what the hell? I have to open up. I can't keep losing money, because it's just like, okay, you're reasonable. You have things at stake.
Right.
Understandable why you're pissed off and you want to open up, because you can't really. You're going to lose your house, your mortgage.
But,
if you don't get any extra support. But I don't know, Matt. Are you getting your vaccine?
Possibly. Again, like I said before, it's something that if I'm not high risk at all. I don't go out. I don't really leave my home at all. Because we're locked down. You're not really supposed to be doing that. So I'm not high risk at all. So I would much rather, especially in our vaccine situation that we're in, where we don't have a lot of them, I would much rather those vaccines go to people who absolutely need them. And then when it is really my turn and everyone who has needed it direly gets it, then yeah, I'll probably get it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really have any pressing reasons not to, other than just I don't think it's something that I need at the moment. I think there are people ahead of me who need it more.
That's fair. That's fair. Especially since our rollout is kind of getting a little messy.
Yeah, it got good and then it's getting worse again somehow. But
Yeah.
like, it's the whole, people are starting to like vaccine shop. They're picking and choosing which one they want now, which is absolutely mind blowing to me.
Yeah. I mean, even when I think about that, I do understand. But it's such a complicated factor, and there's so much incompetence and misinformation everywhere. It's just kind of like it's almost like a free for all now.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like people are kind of left in the dark, where it's just like, okay, I guess I'm watching out. I'm on my own with when in regards to what I believe and what I think.
Yeah.
Or it's just like, I guess I'll do what I think is best, even though I'm not 100% sure. I'll do it is what it is, which is pretty much a summary of this whole pandemic. It's just like, okay, I'll do this thing. Oh, never mind. I guess I was wrong.
Yeah. But
I think that's the end of this
yeah,
aspect.
I guess moving on to a different vein here, one of our primary topics that I wanted to talk about today was the future of sort of technology and fitness. So like I recently decided to purchase there it is, a VR headset, and this is the Oculus Quest 2. It's a fully like wireless standalone VR headset. It's pretty sick. But basically, I think maybe last year they rolled out like a fitness tracker that's like on board that thing, so like you can it like tracks your movement and will count your calories while you do it. And there's like
wait in the VR headset.
In the VR headset, yeah. So like it
oh
comes.
shit, okay.
So like obviously it comes with like the controllers too, which are like wireless. You move them around.
Okay.
But so even when I'm just like playing games, so I don't know how accurate the calorie counter is in the Oculus headset, but I remember I was playing Beat Saber, which is basically just like a rhythm game for VR, where you basically just like slash cubes with like these lightsaber looking things. It can get pretty intense. You get very sweaty, very out of breath if you're not, up to the task. But apparently, like I spent like 2 hours in Beat Saber, and apparently I burned like 1,000 calories or close to 1,000 calories.
Definitely overestimating. Probably maybe
I
around
do
like maybe
think it,
like 300 ish.
yeah, but I mean, even if that's like 300 calories, I just burned 300 calories playing a video game.
Which is always a positive. Is this the second
Like,
coming of Wii Tennis?
basically. Um, but there are like actual fitness apps in the Oculus store,
Yeah,
where basically like it's an actual like VR workout. Thing like there's like kickboxing because that's obviously something you can easily do in VR.
yeah.
Stuff like that. I have yet to actually try those, but I'm curious. But I've been hearing like a lot of good reviews from the fitness apps in VR, and I think that's definitely something that is gonna get better and better in the future when we talk about virtual reality and exercising, because I think there's so much potential there.
Yeah.
But that's what I've been spending a lot of time doing, and it's got me on the vein of thought of like how far technology has kind of pushed fitness, because now we have things like obviously like your fitness trackers, so your Fitbits, Apple Watch, stuff like that, which I think is just consistently like pushing the industry forward, as well as like I don't like when I was in school, I got a chance to beta test this new sort of technology. It's a company called Push. Basically, they make like velocity, like wearable velocity trackers for like athletes and stuff, for like athletes and teams, and like it's all tracked on like an app, so like your coach can like look at it. I'm not
Is it
really.
like? Does it involve like the little like chest strap and shit like so that you wear?
I think
Is it like something like that?
the one that they have going on right now is like a it's like a armband, I think.
Mhm.
I know they have like different products, but the
What's it
one,
called?
so it's the company called Train with Push, I think, or it's just called
Yeah.
like Push, but like it's their website's trainwithpush.com. Um, yeah, I think like their main product is like an armband velocity tracker, which again I'm not really super sure about the science of it because it was all pretty confusing at the time. But essentially, the product that, and I don't think they've released this yet. Yeah, it comes with like a band, so it tracks velocity and power for your
hmm
reps basically, and then it's tracked on an app essentially.
Is it kind of like have you ever seen like powerlifters or like Olympic weightlifters will squat and they have like the little like cord attached to the bar?
Yeah,
Have you ever,
it's
is it,
it's basically
it
like that.
yeah, to track like bar path or stuff like that,
Hmm.
kind of.
Yeah. So what I got to test when I was in school, which they haven't released, and I think it's probably still in R&D over at Push, was it was these pants, like a pair of pants, that have like wires running through them and like sensors and stuff, and you wear them, and basically what it does is it analyzes your gait pattern. Um,
Interesting.
so it analyzes your gait pattern. I think it tracks ground reaction force as well, but it basically just like tracks the way your legs move, and it's just a pair of pants, so you throw them on. Obviously the prototype was not very comfortable. It was just pants and some wires woven in the pants, but basically what they had me do was like I put on the pants and then I basically ran on a treadmill while it tracked my data, and then it like forwarded all that data to like a software that showed me a bunch of results and stuff, and like I could actually see like gait pattern, gait analysis, stuff like that, which is super useful if like you're um, like into exercise science and biomechanics and stuff like that. Like, which if that's your profession and like you're trying to like track biomechanics of like professional athletes, I can absolutely see a definitive use case here. But I think things like that are gonna start slowly popping up, and I think it's gonna push the industry into a new territory that we've never really seen before. Because I think technology can absolutely enhance fitness and fitness results. Because I mean, even just with like Fitbits, like being able to track your calories, see your heart rate, stuff like that, is already
Irrespective of I guess how accurate it is.
yeah. But well, I mean, even just like a heart rate monitor, like heart rate monitors that pretty accurate.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. For my Fitbit, like predominantly, I'll just simply use it for the steps, and I'll just use like a pedometer chart or a conversion to determine steps to calories, and then boom, I have an idea of how many extra calories I have according to what my goals are to eat.
Yeah.
Which is like been a game changer when it comes for me to when it comes to manipulating my calorie intake, trying to track all those discretionary calories where I can't really tell, but by like being able to see steps, I'm like, okay, there we go. Now I have a better idea of like how much I can eat extra.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely it makes it easier almost because like it gives you the data, it gives you the analytics, and you can use that data to figure out how you're gonna like if you're looking to lose weight, knowing or having a rough estimate of how many calories you're taking in, or not taking in, but outputting when you exercise or burning when you exercise.
Yeah. Also, we should think about like not just like the I guess the nerdy biomechanics shit and stuff like that, but like stuff like Peloton.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like just having basically just everything online where you can do yourself. You can follow a workout. You can follow something pre-recorded, do like live classes and stuff, and how
Yeah.
due to this whole pandemic, everybody's kind of forced to innovate or die,
Yeah.
essentially.
I think
Like,
one thing that I would actually really like to see in VR that I think would be really cool is uh like a VR Tour de France. So like you just hop on like an exercise bike, you throw on the VR headset, and it's like you're just biking through the hills of France. I think that would be sick. I don't think anyone's done that yet, but like you can merge VR tech and actual fitness equipment, put them together, and now you have uh, this really cool fitness experience that is going to make working out obviously more fun. It's like, would I rather sit on an exercise bike for an hour, burn 300 calories, or play Beat Saber in VR for 2 hours and burn 300 calories? I would much rather play video games for 2 hours and burn the same amount of calories as sitting on a bike for an hour.
I guess the only people who are gonna be pissed off or against this are optometrists.
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, probably.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't like the only for me at least the only adverse effect that I can really observe through virtual reality is motion sickness. But if you're stationary, that's not really an issue. Well, actually, it depends. I know for like a lot of people, you can get motion sick. I don't get motion sick in VR unless like there's very only like a few. Um, there's very like specific uh like applications that I'll get motion sick in, but for the most part I don't. But I know that's a big concern for a lot of people. I think as VR gets better, as like the resolution and the lenses get better, um, it's definitely I could see that happening.
That's fair. I guess also I shouldn't be so pessimistic because when I think about it, like anybody who's gonna hop on their VR and play these games, the alternative wasn't probably going out for a walk or doing something else. It was probably just playing a game where they're sedentary.
Yeah, it's
So at
like
that point,
I would have
it's
been
kind of
sitting
like a
in this chair just playing a game on my computer, or I can get up, stand in my room, and go ham for 2 hours, get super super sweaty, get super tired. Like the other day, I literally felt like I was gonna have a heart attack and die. Like I was going hard in the paint. It was rough because like there's like multiplayer and stuff too. So like
yeah.
you're competing as well, and obviously me being competitive as well. It pushes me even further to try really really hard and burn even more calories. So it's definitely a cool thing because like in the tracker, like it shows your calories. Like you can set yourself like different goals and
Mm-hmm.
like movement minutes. So like how much time you're spent actually like moving. So I think I have it's like a 250 calorie goal, which I smash every time because 250 calories, at least in this tracker, is like
A breeze.
maybe like 45 minutes to an hour of just playing most VR games, and then
Yeah.
if you want to take it
So
further
what
from
what
that.
games are you playing specifically?
So like I do spend a lot of time in Beat Saber just because it's a lot of fun and it's the easiest to kind of do because like you're stationary completely. You're only moving your arms. You're not going to get motion sick. And it's the like the not the like yeah it takes the most effort. So like I will jump into VR with the express purpose of just trying to burn some calories because I need calories to burn today. I don't want to go outside. It's cold. I don't really want to do anything, so I'm just gonna hop in VR for a few hours and have fun with that.
Hmm. Fair enough. What else? What else? I guess what else is out? Because I'm not a big video game guy, so you would know more than me.
Yeah,
For the
there's
audience.
there's not a lot of like right now, and like virtual reality as a whole at the moment is kind of it's not a fad because it's continuously getting better. Like, like I remember when virtual reality came out, like you had to have, a beast of a computer. Which I mean, I do have. I have a really good computer, but I don't even need it because virtual reality has progressed to the point where it can be completely and totally wireless. Like you can use this completely standalone. You don't even need a computer. So you can basically, and like obviously there are limitations to this. There are certain things that you can't do. Uh, but even though it's wireless, like I can just plug it in via USB to my computer and use it as a normal headset. So I get the best of both worlds here. But I think having it be entirely wireless and having all of, I would say most of the essential apps, uh, like everything you'd want to do in VR, because there's only like a very few things you can really do that are good. Everything else is just kind of mediocre. There's not very many like stellar experiences in virtual reality, but I would say Beat Saber is definitely top tier. It's definitely one of the most popular in virtual reality, and the fact that you can do it wirelessly, you don't even need a computer. That was like $400. Uh, that's 400 in Canadian doubloons because our currency sucks. That's 300 for you Americans if you're watching. And I don't know the conversion rates for anyone else, but like $400 for a virtual reality headset, like that's really good considering like the other competitors that like are tied to computers are 800, 900, up to $1,000. And
Yeah.
like this is basically a comparable experience, and it's entirely wireless. You don't even need a gaming PC to be able to run these apps. So I think it's definitely not a fad because it is getting better.
So wait, okay. So you say you don't need a computer. So where's the processing? Like where's the processing power done?
Right in here, that's it, just in
Oh,
the
in the
headset.
actual headset.
Yep.
In the headset.
Yep.
So when it comes to downloading stuff, is it just like a wireless thing? Do you have to plug it into something or what?
Nope. So it's literally just a phone you strap on your face, if to put it simply, because it just runs with like an Android OS, like a modified Android OS, basically.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's its own standalone thing, which is really impressive. And it's the thing that's been keeping a lot of people out of virtual reality was a pretty high barrier to entry, which was having a computer that's capable of running VR applications and the cost of the headset itself. But I feel the Oculus Quest 2 basically just eliminates both of those. It's well, I don't want to say extremely affordable, but I mean like $400 for a VR headset is
Without the need of like an external,
yeah
processor or anything.
extremely agreeable. And yet like there is a difference between the quality and like resolution if I were to like hook it up to my computer and play Beat Saber on my computer as opposed to playing it standalone on the headset. There is a there is a difference. But for the most part, like if you're just interested in the VR experience, then that stuff really does not matter.
Does this receive the thinnest decoded stamp of approval?
Oh, absolutely does. Like I'm gonna be testing out like the actual like there's like I think it's called Supernatural. It's like it's a program, and it's subscription based. I think it's like $20 a month. But basically, you go and you do like actual virtual reality workouts and stuff. So I'm gonna give that a try and just kind of see the validity of it. But all the reviews I've seen of it are actually pretty good.
Saying Oculus sponsorship in the future coming soon.
Yeah, well, I mean, so like the main people issue that people have with the Oculus Quest is so a few years ago Facebook bought Oculus. So
Yeah.
now Oculus is owned by Facebook. So basically everything you want to do through Oculus, you have to do through Facebook. So
Mm-hmm.
the biggest issue that people had with this headset is to use it, you need a Facebook account. You can't use it if you don't have a Facebook account.
Mm-hmm.
And the other issue with that is if for whatever reason your Facebook account gets banned, Um, Everything you've bought through that, so like if I'm buying games through the basically through the Facebook store essentially, and then it goes straight through Oculus. But if my Facebook account were to ever get banned, I would lose access to all everything I bought with that Facebook account.
That is problematic.
It is problematic, and that was the biggest controversy with that. But I'm like, I've had Facebook for more than 10 years now, and I've never ever been close to being banned, and don't plan on ever doing anything that would get me banned. Like, the only thing I use Facebook for these days is self-promotion, like just promoting the podcast. That's the only thing I use Facebook on. And then use Messenger to talk to people, but that's about it. So I don't see myself ever getting banned from Facebook. So
Yeah, my Facebook is just linked to my Instagram, and once I actually, I finish school and actually get into the field and take this whole thing seriously, then that's when my efforts in Facebook are actually going to start.
Yeah, and then
So
and
that's kind of cool.
Facebook being Facebook and how much data they collect on you, people are like, oh, it's my personal privacy, my personal security. But like, I'm like, listen, the online privacy boat sailed years ago. If you have a Google account, if you have a Facebook account, or Instagram, because Instagram is owned by Facebook, or Snapchat, or any of these social media accounts, your online data is gone, my friend. It's already been sold to every government in the world. They have your data, okay? The minute you made a Gmail account, you forfeit all rights to your online data, okay? Like, and at that point, like, I don't care about that kind of stuff right now. Like, those days, like, people say, oh, I have a VPN. Like, I don't have any accounts. Like, I use, Tor browser.
Firefox.
Yeah, it's like chill, okay? Listen, I understand you're protecting your online data, but like,
I don't think your online data was even that valuable to begin with anyway.
it's
Otherwise,
not that
you'd be in a lot more trouble anyways.
Like, do I care that the Chinese government knows my browsing data? Not really. It's one of those things. Ben, people say, oh, well, I know it's not like a big threat, but it's the principle of it. It's the principle of your data being collected and sold. It's like, does it affect me at all?
When do these companies care about principle to begin with?
Like, I think the only, it's not even a concern. It's just kind of like, that's kind of weird. It's like, I'll be talking about something on Facebook, and then I'll go on like Instagram, and like I'll see ads for it, and I'm like, well, that's, or
even when you're just talking about something in general,
or
yeah,
like I've
gotten Google
something for things that I've strictly only talked about. Like, I've never searched for them. I've just talked about them, and I've gotten an ad for them. And I'm like, that's sus as hell. But
yeah,
I mean, like, if you have like an Alexa or like a Google Home, again, that thing's probably collecting your voice data. And not probably.
Your phone is doing.
Of course, your phone is collecting it. Like, all of those things. Like, that's the world we live in now.
Yeah, pretty much anything with a microphone is just like you may be tapped right now.
And it's like, I don't do anything illegal, so I have nothing to worry about. Even if you do stuff illegal, like, again, it's
you have to be doing something
unless you're on somebody's radar, and then they can use these vulnerabilities to tap into you personally. Then again, that's the issue. But I don't see the big deal. I'm fine with Facebook collecting all of my data. I'm fine with Facebook holding the vice grip on my Oculus. Like, it's whatever, man. Like, I'm having fun. I have no issues. If you do, that's good for you, and that's kind of the debate and philosophical and moral thing you have to figure out if you do want to get an Oculus headset is, am I okay with Facebook basically saying, when you buy this product, we now own you, essentially?
Kind of, pretty much.
I don't know. The benefits have certainly outweighed the cost, in my opinion. Like, I'm having a great time, so I don't care. Yeah.
I don't think none of us are important enough people for them to care that much about our data.
I'm super insignificant. But
pretty much.
Yeah, if you're looking for something to do, you got a lot of free time, definitely grab yourself an Oculus Quest 2. All you need is $400 and a wide open, not even wide open, but a big enough space that you can move your arms freely without hitting anything or anyone. I've definitely punched my door, I've punched my ceiling, and I've punched my wall quite a few times in VR. I've punched myself. I've gone up to like
I was about to say, have you punched yourself?
like
Yeah.
I've moved my hand and just gone bonk. But yeah, again, just like wide up. As long as you have enough space to enjoy VR, you're gonna have a great time.
All right. Does that close this little mini chapter
Pretty
of
much,
fitness
yeah.
tech? I guess the takeaways are: get yourself an Oculus if you have the money, and you're lazy and you don't. Well, not lazy, but you like doing things virtually, and you know you wouldn't exercise if it wasn't virtual.
Exactly. Like there's absolutely no downside to burning like you're doing what you would normally do, except you're burning calories doing it.
Pretty much, since this is pandemic time, it's just kind of like we don't know when this is moving forward. Your local boxing class may not be open for a while, so
Exactly. So I guess moving on here, something that I know you've been dying to talk about that I'm kind of interested in because
European Super League.
to me it seems
Okay.
absolutely wild. But why don't you fill myself and the audience in on what exactly the hell is going on with European
Okay.
football here?
With my good little journalist self, I actually had notes prepared because it's complicated and I could talk it off the cuff, but it just get really confusing. So if anybody's wondering, the info that I got off is from a BBC article called European Super League Timeline Game Changer Football's Volatile 72 Hours. And from what I understand, this article is being continually updated. It's kind of just a timeline of like this whole literal coup that's being occurred in European club football, which there are billions of euros being played around here, being thrown around. That kind of impacts everybody. Any football fan, any soccer fan, also as well, even in like MLS and like North America. But so pretty much, um, I guess a little backs like information for anybody who isn't really familiar with like European club well football or soccer whatever you call it. The main like attraction are club teams from various countries. We got our top 5 leagues: the Premier League in England, La Liga in Spain, Serie A in Italy, Bundesliga in Germany, and then you could say maybe even Ligue 1 in France. You know, and there's various clubs, various teams. The league is kind of structured usually from like anywhere from like 16 to 20 teams. Top 4 teams, they qualify for this big European competition called the Champions League. Bottom 3 get relegated to the second division. So it's kind of not like North American sport where there's like Eastern and Western conferences, and you just go to playoffs if you finish in a certain spot, you know, and there's no repercussions if you're kind of ass. You know, you just finish last and just rebuild for next year. Also, there's no such thing as like salary caps and stuff like that. Like it's just kind of a free for all. Not entirely. There's financial fair play rules, but there's a much bigger disparity between the best and the worst teams because of like foreign interest and money, which already is kind of corrupt. And there's a lot of like controversy of like teams being owned by like Saudi billionaires, Manchester City. That's the main one. But okay, anyways, that's kind of like the mini premise. But basically, we're kind of at the end of the European season. It's semifinals of the Champions League. The season's winding down. Starts in September, finishes in May. It's like April. Out of nowhere, on Sunday, basically 12 of the biggest teams, the top 6, well, the top like big financial clubs, Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Tottenham Hotspur. Um, in Spain, the big Spanish teams: Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and finally in Italy, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Juventus. All 12 clubs, they were basically like, hey guys, we're gonna make our own European Super League away from the Champions League, and yeah, that's our plan. Screw you guys. We're gonna make as much money as we want playing in this big Super League. Basically telling UEFA, which is like the governing body of European football, that has like the Champions League, which is like basically I guess the playoffs equivalent, or where all the biggest teams in Europe qualify and play for. Yeah, screw your system. We're making our own system where all the big teams can play and make a lot more money and be a lot more exciting for the fans. Basically, the structure that they kind of wanted was to switch from the current Champions League model, which is 32 teams broken up into groups of 4. The top 2 teams from each group progress to the knockout round, and basically goes from like the round of 16, the quarterfinals, semifinals to the final. Taking that format, changing it to two groups of 10, kind of like an Eastern Western Conference final or conference style, like North American style. Um, and basically taking it and being like, well, let me I guess a little more information. Um, Kind of like, well, the biggest piece,
how would you split up a bracket into
they
like
would seed the teams differently based on past success, and past, I think, performances in the previous Champions League model.
but
You know,
wouldn't it have to be a multiple of like 4 if you were to like have a bracket that made sense? That's why we have like 32, 16, 8, 4, 2.
yeah. So I guess if there's 10 and 10, then it's 2, 4, 6, 8. So there'd be 4 games occurring each fixture. Wait, no, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 5 games.
You would have like 5 and then 5,
Yeah, matchups.
but then as that progresses, it becomes an uneven number.
It's confusing, but so this is the biggest piece of outrage, though. The fact that the 12 clubs, plus they're looking for another three founding members,
Yeah.
a total of 15 clubs. Those clubs would never be relegated. They would be permanent members forever.
Okay.
While the final 5 spots would be some type of qualification based on your performances in like your domestic country league. Basically those teams where they qualify, they never have to worry about qualifying for life. While the current UEFA format is you have to finish top either like 2 to 4 in your respective league every season, or win the whole thing in order to qualify.
Right.
With this model, basically the richest teams are always a part of like this big money making scheme. The whole goal is essentially because if you have like a format of what's it called, like 32 teams, 4 groups of 4, you can go through the whole tournament with like one big team not playing another big team because the brackets just don't end up aligning. The goal with this is all these big European teams, basically they have to play each other, which obviously draws more eyeballs, and you have less games where fans just aren't attracted to. It's basically to make it a whole spectacle. On top of that, they were also talking about like it being like an international thing, like Manchester United, you'll play in Manchester. It's the home stadium in England. If you have Manchester versus Real Madrid, that might be played in like Atlanta. That might be played in like Abu Dhabi. That might be played in Hong Kong. Like they would be weekly flying the players all over the place in order to get as many eyeballs and as much streams, money as possible.
Yeah.
Which is the goal. Basically, 100% of the time, big teams are playing big teams. There's no big teams playing small teams that don't attract a lot of money. And that was basically the sentiment from all these big clubs. They're like, we're tired of having this format where basically, we're the main attraction. We don't need these smaller clubs. If we played each other consistently, we'd be making so much more money.
So it's basically an entire league of all-star games.
Pretty much. That's essentially what it would become. And so there's a little bit more details. And so this would essentially make like the current UEFA Champions League, which is like, the premier European competition. So like, if you finish from 1st to 4th, or if you win the whole thing, you go there. Or the Europa League, where if you finish maybe like 3rd to 7th in your respective league, you go to the Europa League, which is like the second tier European competition. It would just make them completely irrelevant because you're losing the biggest teams.
Yeah.
So basically that just like that whole system that's been around for maybe 70 years, gone. So within a day, they were basically like, we're going to have a coup, and we're about to completely disrupt the entire football landscape. Basically, like, at this point, people were like, so is the season not going ahead? What's going on? So this is Sunday morning. They make this announcement out of nowhere. There were talks, like, little rumblings here and there, but nobody thought it would be this year. So that's Sunday morning. Sunday midday. UEFA, FIFA, all the domestic leagues these clubs are part of, they're all like condemning this move, and they're literally saying we're going to do everything in our power to make sure this does not happen. Even politicians started speaking out, specifically the UK president Boris Johnson, basically calling on like the country's like sport authorities, basically saying like, we can't have this happen. This is not going to happen. Like that's how significant this move would be. And something you have to consider is like football is a massive part of like the economy and also like the individual cities.
Yeah.
Like these football teams, they invest in the community. There's people like businesses and stuff that are based on, their football club, their local team, and basically telling them like, hey, like you guys are no longer part of the big club. Also, you have to take into consideration where all the broadcasters going to go. They're going to go where the money is, which means that the current league format. Not only does it disrupt the whole European competition, but also the local leagues as well, because it's just like these clubs, they're kicked out of the club.
Right.
Where all the money is, and they don't even have a point. They don't even have a chance to qualify. So it's just like, where is the meritocracy in sport? There was a big pundit, Gary Neville, who's a former United player, on Sky Sports, so he was just calling for, all these clubs that are part of this to deduct the points, deduct the points from this season, penalize them however you need to. So this is Sunday, this is chaos Sunday. And take in mind, there's week, there's games scheduled while this is all going on. So teams are still playing, even though this is all up in the air. Sunday night, the European Super League, will call them the ESL from now on this discussion. They put out an official statement acknowledging all 12 clubs who have joined. And they basically say, we're going to start as soon as practically possible, which from the reports, they wanted to start in August, this August. So they basically been giving UEFA and FIFA like 3-4 months to negotiate with them, being like, listen, this is happening. The money is backing us. You can join in or you can screw off, And I think from what I understand, JP Morgan had invested $4.3 billion. So from everybody's perspective, like, oh, this is happening. Like, this isn't a bluff or anything. Like, they're literally about to blow up the whole football landscape overnight. And they said they were going to have negotiations with FIFA and UEFA whenever possible. Monday morning, after this whole thing blew up, the ESL, they contact both UEFA and FIFA presidents, and they basically told them, hey, we've already started proceedings in European court to prevent you from blocking this from happening. So we're ready to fight you with our money that we've received from our investors to stop you from making this happen. Okay, this is where I was like, at first I was like, this is gonna go away. This isn't that serious, until this happened. Basically, all 12 clubs, they resigned from the European Club Association, essentially meaning they were pulling out of all European competitions that were still going on. So right now, the Champions League, the semifinal is PSG versus Manchester City. Manchester City is part of this. So in everybody's mind, it's just like, okay, that semifinal isn't happening because Manchester City is pulling out of this organization that is hosting this competition. The other semifinal is Real Madrid versus Chelsea, who have also signed up. So that semifinal isn't happening. So do PSG, who rejected the offer to join. They're basically, which was surprising because they also are a big money team, but from France. But their owner, I think he either has a position on the UEFA board or is very good friends with the president. So he's like, I don't want to piss off UEFA. So basically everybody's thinking is like, is PSG just crowned automatic champion because the other teams have basically pulled out of UEFA? So everybody's just like, what the hell is going on? Are these games even going to happen? Is the season even going to finish?
Yeah.
Like all the broadcasters are probably thinking like, what's going on? Are they really about to blow up football in the middle at the end of the most exciting part of the season during COVID? So, okay, that's Monday morning. Monday midday, a bunch of players start speaking out, being like, we don't want this. The fans don't want this. The general consensus is nobody wants this. Anybody who cares about like competitive football or sport or just like, we don't want this at all. Ander Herrera on PSG, who's one of the teams that rejected it, he was like, calling on other footballers to, have their point made. Like, we don't want this to happen. More drama. The UEFA president, he comes out like full shots fired all over the place. He's calling the project disgraceful, calling several executive members and directors at these big clubs basically snakes, liars and snakes. Specifically talking about Juventus chairman, I can't say his name, Andrea Agnelli, who he specifically called him out because the day that they announced the Super League, Andrea Agnelli, he had a chairman position on the European Club Association that he stepped down from to then become one of the lead executives at the ESL. So basically on that day, and on top of this, that weekend they were negotiating new changes to the Champions League. So basically, Andrea Agnelli with a straight face was like, yeah, man, we're on board for all these new changes. Everything's good. The next day, announces the Super League, resigns from his position, and basically threatening all of European football the next day. So the UEFA president, he's pissed. He's calling everybody snakes. He's saying these owners are leeches, this and that. disgraceful to football. So shots fired all over the place. This is a big point that I'm going to touch on after that kind of makes this even like more dramatic. That same day on Monday, UEFA announced their plans that they were reformatting the Champions League, which would involve the league being expanded from 32 to 36 teams and switching to a format from the groups of four, so 8 groups of 4, where to a format where each team would play a minimum of 10 games instead of 6. So they were doubling the games anyway, which is a really interesting point that we're going to touch on later, which kind of goes into like conspiracy theory levels of what's going on. Okay, so Monday midday, all this is going on. These clubs have pulled out of the European like league association, so everybody's like, is the season even going to finish? There's a Premier League game going on, which is, the England like domestic league between Leeds and Liverpool. Liverpool is one of the teams that, one of the founding members, one of the rich boys. They play Leeds. The Leeds, like the actual players and the club, basically show up with shirts saying, earn it. Basically like, earn your qualification. You're not just, going to buy your way into the most expensive, lucrative deal in the world, when it comes to football. And basically, earn your European spots. Don't just become part of this like Super League where you're just given this special treatment. After the game's done, they ended up tying, which was funny. Leeds tied Liverpool in like the 85th minute. And basically everybody was cheering. Like everybody's so happy. It's like, yeah, screw the Super League. These little teams, like, are you really that super when you're tying these small like little teams all the time? Like how can you call yourself super? Liverpool's manager Jurgen Klopp and one of his like lead like figures in the dressing room, one of the lead players were like, yeah, we don't like the Super League idea anyways either. We hope it doesn't happen, but we'll do whatever goes along with the club. There are even talks that like Jurgen Klopp, who's like their beloved manager, was gonna leave at the end of the season if this happened to somewhere else. Okay, so that's Monday. Nobody still knows what's going on. In the sense like, is this actually gonna go? Oh no, people at this point are thinking like, wow, this is actually gonna happen. Like football is dead. Basically, people are like, football is dead. Like this is the end of like, fair competition as we know it. It's basically just going to become a big money game. Tuesday morning, Real Madrid president and the new ESL chairman, Florentino Perez, who's basically the lead guy in all this. So he's like the main supervillain, really, in this whole new organization. He goes on Spanish TV, stating that ESL would essentially save football due to economic losses of the pandemic, which is fair. Football, they've lost a lot of money, as is everybody else. This is the funny part. He said that young people between the ages of 18 to 24 don't care about football. Basically what he's saying is kids that age don't have the attention span to last through the really long Champions League format, which I will say, to some people, if you're not a diehard football fan, watching through the entire season that starts in September and ends all the way in May can be boring because there are some boring games, to be quite fair. So I understand the urge where it's just like, we need to change the format to make it more exciting. But you've basically taken it from like, yeah, this is kind of boring, maybe we need some adjustments. Okay, let's just change the whole thing, screw all these little teams, and just throw the money at the big teams. Like 0 to 100 basically his rationale.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the current UEFA Champions League, is that not a competition made up of the best or top performing European teams?
Yes, from all the leagues around Europe.
So then how does the ESL, like, that ESL is basically just the Champions League, but with the best teams from the Champions League, right?
Yes. Not necessarily the best teams performance-wise.
Best financially performing.
The richest teams, which don't always qualify for the Champions League. Sometimes, like Arsenal this year, they're part of the project. They're in 10th place in the Premier League. They're having a shit season. But in the ESL model, they wouldn't need to worry about having a shit season because they'd always have the money rolling in, which is the goal. Basically it takes the whole thought of like jeopardy. Like there's nothing at risk. All they care about is like exciting football every week, even if the teams currently are shit.
Right.
That's the whole point. It's like, we don't want these big clubs needing to qualify and lose out on money. Because, if you qualify the Champions League, you get certain incentives. This is another big thing. Currently, there's like the winner of the Champions League gets like 100,000 euros. 100,000 euros? Yeah, 100,000 euros or like no. What am I saying? A
Is that
hundred
a lot?
million
Yeah, I was
euros.
gonna say
A hundred
100,000.
million euro. 100 million euros. The winner of the ESL would receive 400 million euros.
Jeez.
They were gonna quadruple it. Basically, if you're part of the ESL, if you're one of the founding members, you never got to worry about money again because you'll never be knocked out. You could play terrible as long as you're in the club. You get all the broadcasting money. All the big games being played. You don't need to worry about results anymore. You can be trash, but you're still good. Which is obviously what people are like, pissed off against or about. It's just like the whole idea of fair sport, qualifying based on your performances on the field. There's no such thing as the underdog anymore. That's all gone.
Right.
And that's basically what Florentino Perez is saying: is kids don't care about the underdog anymore. They don't care. They don't have the attention span to go through this long, bracket group process. They just simply want high action games all the time, which I'm going to touch on again because there's a certain part of that is also true. But the people he's talking about, I would say, aren't real football fans. Though the people that, watch the full Champions League are, the invested in every game, season ticket holders, they maybe live in the UK or live for these local clubs, Even myself, I'm not like the biggest, I'm a football fan, but I'm an international football fan. I'll never understand like the actual culture of like the city and stuff and what it actually means. He, I guess, wants more casual fans, in the sense that basically he probably wants my relationship with the NBA for football, in the sense that the only games I'm gonna watch is like Brooklyn versus Los Angeles because that's all I care about.
Right.
I'm not a big enough fan to care about like watching being paying attention to the rosters. Like I just want to be entertained because that's what it comes to catch my attention. And that's basically what they want for football. They want more casual fans, which means more eyeballs, more people buying subscriptions to to watch it online. Because that just makes more money for the most part, making it a spectacle, especially if it's played in Los Angeles, Abu Dhabi, crazy expensive like stadiums and stuff like that. You just make it basically you turn it into like pay-per-view UFC fights every game.
So it's like the soccer Olympics, but every year.
It's literally turned into the World Cup every year.
Oh yeah, it'd be
every match day.
I can't believe I didn't come up with that comparison. There's literally a soccer Olympics, and it's still World Cup. I'm an idiot. But yeah, like I get what you're saying.
Pretty much, it's like every game is like the big team plays the big team, and they play even more games because now they're in groups instead of groups of 4 where you only play each other twice. So it's 6 games. And they'd have it all season long. You see how many games they play in the NBA, Like, they play like 80-something games. Basically want to turn it into that, where each team plays like 40 games played throughout the season, on top of their domestic league.
Okay.
Also that day, so Florentino Perez, he's saying like all this, we're here to save football, da-da-da-da-da, when, the real goal is to make as much money as possible. He also calls UEFA's bluff and FIFA's bluff, and he says, these clubs are not going to be expelled from the Champions League. They're going to play everything. He's basically calling their bluff, like, you guys can't kick us out. You need us. Later in the day, German champions Bayern Munich, who are also a big earner club, and Borussia Dortmund, they also reject the invitation, as well as some other German teams. They reject the invitation to join the Super League. They're like, no. So Bayern, Dortmund, and PSG are pretty much the biggest clubs who have said no. Like they make a lot of. In fact, Bayern are current UEFA Champions League champions. They got knocked out in the last round by PSG, but PSG, and Dortmund are basically saying no. So those are the only big clubs right now where people are like, okay, we're standing behind these clubs who are, taking a principled stance against this big Super League thing. So it's not just everybody.
Yeah.
So that's Tuesday. I remember I was at work. I was talking to my friend, and then I was at work as well yesterday when this was all going down. Tuesday afternoon. General consensus. Everybody's like, okay, the fans are like, we don't want this. This is horrible. To the point where some clubs that are in this are starting to crack under the pressure. Like there's actually, which nobody expected, with all this money being thrown around, JP Morgan investing $4.3 billion, everybody's like, okay, I guess this is happening. It is what it is. Football's dead. Some of the clubs are actually starting to crack under the pressure. So Tuesday, there's another scheduled Premier League game that was happening regardless of what's going on. Chelsea, which one of the teams, they play Brighton, one of the little teams. They were the fans for Chelsea were demonstrating outside the stadium because they can't be in the stadium right now, COVID.
Right.
And how much thousands of fans came to the stadium saying how much they hated the plan. Basically Chelsea FC They, took their induction date to 2021. Rest in peace, all of that. During that day, it's funny, Chelsea ended up tying that game 0-0 to like 16th place Brighton in the league. Also, people were like making fun of them, being like, "So you're so super, you can't tie 16th place. You can't beat 16th place when you're in 4th place." At this point in the day, there's rumors that two Premier League clubs, are thinking about pulling out of this because of the backlash. One, Manchester City, and two, also Chelsea. So this is where things get interesting. Later in the day, Manchester United executive vice chairman with Ed Woodward, which he's not the owner, but he's one of the main like representatives of the owner in the club. He resigns, or he says he's going to resign at the end of 21. And when this happened, that's when like the floodgates started to open. People realizing like, oh, this might actually fall like apart. This whole plan. At that point, a bunch of different Liverpool players, they start speaking out, saying, "We're not in favor of this. We don't want to do this." Putting pressure on the Liverpool owners to back down. Tuesday night, or maybe Tuesday afternoon. I'm going off British time, so that's why it says Tuesday night. I'm at work right now. I'm driving to work at like 3 o'clock or 2:45. My buddy calls me. He's like, "David, out of nowhere, 6 Premier League teams are pulled out of the ESL immediately. Basically, half of the teams, half of the financial backers, half of the eyeballs pull out. They're like, no, we're not doing this. We've cracked under the pressure. We're listening to the fans. We can't continue with the Super League." At that point, I'm thinking like this is a complete 180 of like, the confidence and the arrogance that all these big clubs have had. Like, oh, this is going to happen. The fact that out of nowhere, half of the clubs have basically cracked in the pressure from the fans and been like, "We can't do this. We're pulling out,"
Yeah.
which was like an absolute shock because I thought, okay, well, football's dead. It is what it is. When there's that much money being shoveled around, it's just like, well, what kind of effect can the fans have? So that happens Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night. We bring it to today. So now everybody's kind of in limbo because it's just like, the biggest teams, which are usually the Premier League teams with the biggest money and interest, they're all out. There's still 6 other teams. There's the 3 Spanish teams and the 3 Italian teams. So they're kind of put in a corner where it's just like, okay, we've lost half of our backing. What are we going to do? Tuesday morning, or this morning, the UEFA president stated that all 6 Premier League teams, they're welcome back into the organization and they're going to focus on, I guess, rehealing the relationship. So that means these Premier League teams are not kicked out of UEFA competitions. The UEFA's just like, okay, you know what? We'll welcome you back. Let's see what happens next. However, today they state, this morning, the ESL, they say even though all 6 Premier League teams are out, they still plan on moving forward. This is this morning. They say even though half of the teams are gone, we're still planning on moving forward. This morning, the Liverpool owner, he actually comes out and apologizes to the fans, and most of the Premier League teams, they released a statement on their website apologizing to the fans that they thought about doing this. We start getting towards the afternoon today, towards 12 o'clock. Andrea Agnelli, who I mentioned earlier, him and Florentino Perez, Real Madrid president, and this is the Juventus chairman, the main guys pushing behind this. He openly says in a press conference that the moment the project will not be moving forward because right now the project is still going to be moving forward, but these are going to be future plans, and at the moment nothing seems clear. Literally half an hour later, Atletico Madrid, Inter Milan, they both pull out. 4 clubs left at that point. Two have left. Later in the day, an hour or 2 later, AC Milan and Juventus, they release statements. They're pulling out, apologizing to the fans. Right now, there's only 2 teams. Florentino Perez, the Super League president, Real Madrid, and Barcelona, who, from what I understand, Barcelona are a fan-owned club. They don't have an owner, so the fans, they have democratic elections. From what I understand, the fans are going to be going to a vote to decide if they stay or not, which is going to be pretty much an obvious no because there's literally only 2 teams left in this project. So that just kind of leaves all these billionaires, egg on their face, trying to literally pull off a multi-day coup, completely fucking backfired because of the fans basically saying, we don't want this. Jeez. So that's the summary of all the events that just happened from Sunday to today.
So
yeah,
to summarize, the best teams basically said, screw you guys, we're going to go make our own football league, and it's going to be blockbuster action, and you guys are gonna love it. Put all their
Pretty
money
much.
put all their money into it. Fans said no, what the hell, that's a terrible idea. And then slowly people are like, yeah, you know what, sorry about that. And then slowly it falls apart, right? Is there any chance of this happening again, like potentially restarting? And
So this is where things get very interesting. This is where the conspiracy starts coming around that UEFA planned for this to happen in order to hide the new changes they're making to the Champions League that come into effect in 2024-2025. So, over the weekend, UEFA, they were announcing that they were going to make changes to their Champions League format. So, like I said earlier, they're adding 4 extra teams, and they're changing the format from groups of 4 to 2 groups of 10, and basically turning it into a kind of a playoff system where everybody plays each other 10 times, or I believe so, 10 or 2, 4, 5. I lied. If there's 10 teams in each ooh, this gets very interesting. I didn't think about this. I lied. They split it up into 2 sections. So if there's 36 teams, groups of 18, everybody plays each other twice. The top 8 teams on each side, they move on to the playoff round. Well, they've qualified for the playoff round. Between 9th to 24th, they play amongst each other to see who progresses to go play the other 8 teams, or 16 teams, I guess, who have qualified from the playoff round. The bottom teams, they get knocked out of the competition. There's nothing else going on there.
right.
And then from there, they'll battle it out, and then it'll go from round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, and they'll do the same format as before. This does not sound too much different from the Super League. The only difference from this and the Super League is that you have to qualify. Right. What I'm thinking, and what a lot of people are thinking is, I don't know if have you heard the term the Overton window?
No.
So basically what the Overton window is, it's basically the window of acceptable opinion. What is currently acceptable in society. And compared to the United States to Canada, their Overton window is much shifted to the right, to the point where universal healthcare is like, are you crazy? That's socialist, Well, for us and most of the developed world, it's like the standard opinion.
Yeah.
You also know, when you bid on something, you'll usually undercut the price. Mm-hmm. Let's say something costs like $100. You bid $80, knowing you wanted to go for $90 anyways.
Yeah.
You know you weren't going to get that deal, but you went for it because you knew, you needed a midway point. That's basically what people are kind of saying. Like, UEFA, they planned this all along to shoot the Overton window all the way to what they knew people would hate, in order to make their compromise not seem bad.
And then everyone praises them, saying, oh, like, I see this a lot in sort of my realm, with gaming and Twitch streaming and stuff like that, where like a company will do something that everyone hates, knowing full well that they're going to revert that decision to a less shitty decision, and then when they do it, they know everyone's going to go, oh, look at them, they did something good.
Does that have to do with microtransactions and stuff like that?
Stuff like that. Yeah. They'll push the limits so far, knowing that there's going to be outrage about it, and then when they revert that decision, people give them praise and say, oh, look at them.
Without looking at the fine details of what they've actually done.
It's like, well, no, they purposely did that, and then their intention was always to have this now system they have in place, but they wanted to see how far they could push the limit. If people accepted it at that point, then even better for them. But like, they already had an end goal in mind when they pushed the envelope on that situation. So
pretty much. So this is what people are saying, that the entire goal was to move towards this, North American conference system.
Yeah.
Because in the same thing, you still get the big teams playing the big teams. There's still more games being played, but you maybe needed something to kind of distract the attention, or these billionaire owners genuinely thought we can, had the audacity to think we can move our money around, we can shift football teams to whatever cities we want, and not, the fans just go along with it, which I think is kind of crazy, considering football in Europe, your football team, if you live in that city, that's your culture, that's your identity, regardless of how much money is poured in from foreign investors, from Saudi princes and stuff, the local football and the competitiveness is monumental.
Hmm.
Same with the structure of the league, It's only in Europe where you see relegation as a thing, where you get relegated to the second tier if you finish bottom three. That's not a thing in a North American sports. And realistically, when you think about it, relegation is bad for business.
Yeah.
Relegation is like you lose out on broadcaster money, which is bad for business. So basically, these top clubs were like, let's eliminate this whole bad for business thing and just make sure we are consistently giving the fans or more casual viewers what they want without, having less risk. Which at the same time, you kind of lose the whole purpose of sport. There needs to be risk involved or it's not exciting anymore.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's definitely very interesting.
So yeah, like it's like out of nowhere. Imagine like the top teams in whatever sport, or even individual sports. Like we're gonna make our own organization. Rafa Nadal, Djokovic, and other top like Roger Federer when he was playing like top tennis players are like, you know what? Screw these guys. We're making our own
Just an elite
separate
open,
thing where we
just
play each other every game.
and it's just like
You know,
every week there's a Nadal versus Federer.
pretty much because they know like we don't need these little tennis players. Interrupting the big boy club. We want to be playing amongst each other's all the time. Yeah. So obviously all the other clubs who weren't because this was a special invitation type of thing, like obviously all the other clubs are like, well, we need to fight this because we will literally die out because another thing is a lot of the leagues and UEFA and FIFA, they were telling these clubs, if you do this, your clubs will not be allowed to participate in the Champions League, the Europa League, your respective leagues, you'll be kicked out of those leagues. You will only be able to play in the Super League. The players will not be able to play in the World Cup, and they won't be able to play in the Euros. So they basically wouldn't be able to play for the national teams.
Oh.
All they would be able to play for is the European Super League.
So then
That's it.
Also, would the ESL have taken away, I guess, like, would they have run it, like, simultaneously to, like the Premier League or the Champions League? Like,
They would just they'd be competition.
Yeah, because, like, what, like, people would stop watching Champions League and go and watch ESL, right?
Yeah, because
if they're running at the same time. Because, like, why would I watch all these lower tier teams duke it out when I can go watch the best in the league
every week?
Every week. Like, I wouldn't bother watching Premier League. I wouldn't bother watching Champions League at that point.
Which is also why UEFA and all these leagues fought so hard.
Yeah.
There's also something to consider is UEFA and all these, FIFA organizations, they're not obviously the most ethical. They're also extremely corrupt. They just never thought they would get screwed over by the money machines that they made.
Yeah.
It like never occurred to them that, billionaire philanthropists are going to act like billionaire philanthropists. They'll look at this and be like, yeah, this whole sport competitive thing, no. This doesn't make money. We need some more security in this business model. We got to give the people what they want, which is like, just action consistently.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, movies where like, the main characters are never going to die. And like, there's like 5, 6, 7 movies.
Yeah. It's like, why would I want to watch the Black Widow movie when I can go and watch all the Avengers movies?
Kind of. I guess maybe you kind of think of like Fast and Furious as well,
That too, yeah.
Like after a while, it's just like, okay, I kind of know what's gonna happen now, So that's basically the situation, and this is literally still. I think I literally just got an article right now. The Florentino Perez just gave another interview right now, so I'm gonna quickly look at that this second to see if there's any cool tidbits that makes this more dramatic, because all this information that I just said, this is all of like maybe from 4 o'clock today. So literally, it's just It's literally Real Madrid and Florentino Perez right now, who by the way is 74 years old and has a $2.2 billion net worth.
Jeez.
So it's just him right now holding Real Madrid on into the Super League.
Why? Like, I'm sure he's got a lot of stake in it, but it's very clear the dream is dead.
I guess I think he does know at this point. If he doesn't stand his ground, he's going to look like an idiot. He might be kicked out of Real Madrid if he doesn't.
I think either way he looks like an idiot. Like if he holds course and keeps Real Madrid in ESL as the only team in ESL, then he looks dumb. And if he folds and breaks and is potentially not even introduced back into
The
UEFA.
Real Madrid just die.
Hmm.
They would pay the price, for all of this nonsense. Which is this is why like people are also thinking like, are these clubs gonna get like, are they gonna get sanctioned? Is there gonna be punishments thrown out towards these for clubs because of this big stunt? Which
Yeah.
basically it was. Unless the conspiracy is correct, this was all just to shift the window. All right, I got it pulled open here. This was half an hour ago. He gave an interview. Florentino Perez, I'm sad and disappointed we didn't explain the Super League well. Da-da-da-da. He's like, I'm sad, disappointed. We've been working on this for years. Basically, same thing. Champions League isn't interesting anymore. Said that the Premier League teams were reluctant from the beginning anyways. Basically him just saying like, oh, I'm very disappointed. This is anything definitive. There's going to be more info that comes out later. But yeah, that's basically the biggest thing that happened in European sport or football in general this weekend. Basically, these big rich clubs basically saying, you know what, we're tired of all you little guys. Time to do a coup. Which was
that seems
absolutely
ridiculous to me.
Crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But the one thing is, literally it kind of showed how football fans came around each other, regardless of club, being like, listen, we can't let the sport, be dominated by moneyed interests.
Yeah.
Which I think is just a massive other conversation as well in regards to, like when this all happened, I literally just came to this realization that I already knew, just like sport is just to create money.
Yeah.
Which can be pretty, disheartening for fans and players. Like you putting your body through all of this just for, billionaire investors who own these teams, just to make some money, who never perhaps understand, sport and the sacrifice that's put into it. You're basically just, you're performers and you're entertainers at that point for these guys who make all the money.
Like as if you like if you look at it this way, if you are on a professional sports team, you are an employee. You are there to make somebody money. You're not chosen because of your ability per se. You're chosen based on your ability to be profited off of, essentially.
Yeah, which in most cases are because you're a good player.
Because
There's
you are a
some
good player.
there's some very rare cases where these players have built such big brands, where they're just there to sell shirts.
Yeah.
I guess you could say maybe some older players in some sports, who are brought in to be a leader, not really play much, but they're the big name. Yeah, man, like it's interesting just to see how this moves around. I guess like something that also popped in my mind watching this is have you like like the whole NCAA situation.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to explain it, or should you want me to explain it?
Go for it.
From what I understand, there was the whole issue, or I don't know if there was actual like court cases being pressed, but like the NCAA's policy is that players in the NCAA, college athletes, they can't make any external like endorsements or anything.
Yeah.
Because that's just the college rules. The NCAA obviously makes a shit ton of money, so obviously they don't want any of the money being spread around to the athletes. Even though, again, these athletes, they get their scholarships, but they also have to cover everything else. When it comes to like their living expenses and other aspects of their life. Also the fact that if they're independent individuals, they should be able to capitalize on their brand and their assets to make money and set themselves up whenever they finish, their athletic career. If you get hurt, your scholarship's done.
Yeah.
Your money's gone. But the NCAA is still profiting off your name, with broadcasters and everything. So there was did you know the whole like Odell Beckham situation?
Yes.
I forget who won. It was football. I forget they won the championship, and he came on and he started, dabbing guys up and giving them money, on the field, to the point where he got banned from that school and banned from attending finals. As a kind of show of support where it's just like, listen, like these guys deserve to be paid.
Yeah.
They put their bodies on the line. They play like professional athletes. They basically are professional athletes
At that point,
but also students. But the money is hoarded by by these teams. You know, it's all a big club, and these kids are just here to perform.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's at least I lucked out with doing an individual sport because like, but also the other issue is that like there's not a whole lot of money in track and field. Like
yeah,
the only people who get paid in track are the people who win because it's prize
yeah,
money. If you lose, you get nothing.
yeah.
Like maybe or you're like significant enough to like receive like a sponsorship and like you promote and you get sponsor money and stuff like that, but like even like if you're drafted to like the worst performing team in the NBA, you're still making money even
Yeah,
though
you could play 3 average minutes
like
per
you
game.
could, yeah, you could be on the bench the entire time, you could lose every game this season and you still get paid at the end of it. In track it's
Look at
like if you lose and
baseball.
you're not like top 5, you get nothing. That's it
You trained all year for nothing,
basically.
which is I guess something else to
It keeps
consider.
you humble.
Teams. Yeah, it does. 'Cause it's like, listen, I win or I don't get paid.
Exactly.
You know. Well, you look at baseball.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know anything about baseball. I don't care about baseball. I don't really, no hate to any baseball fans out there, but these guys aren't, the most athletic of athletes per se, but they have massive contracts.
Mm-hmm.
They're making money for and for some players not barely jogging out, and same with other team sports, like if you're on the roster, if you're on the main team, you're maybe making a couple thousand a week, minimum like 10,000 more plus a week, where you're fairly comfortable making over $100,000 a year minimum, without maybe even like touching the field the whole season.
Oh.
That's why a lot of these players, obviously, like outside of their career, they're obviously businessmen and they invest all their money because they know it won't last forever.
Yeah.
Which is always interesting that these college athletes are treated differently in the sense that they can't move the same way. At least in the NCAA.
Yeah, the whole situation with the NCAA is just really stupid. Like if you're profiting off of somebody performing for you, then that person performing needs to be getting paid. Otherwise, they're basically a slave at that point.
They're basically you're telling them, like, listen, we're giving you the opportunity to hit the league, but you better not be
You're
making
like,
any money else.
like it's like people, trying to commission like photography work, saying you're going to be paid in exposure. It's like, no, I'd like to be paid in actual money, not the promise of, or not even a guarantee, but like saying, hey, if you do this for me, you have a really good shot at making lots of money in the future. Like, no,
Yes,
give me
especially
money
football
now.
players.
Yeah,
Especially players who put your body on the line. If you get injured or hurt or have a traumatic injury, it's just like you don't even have a contract to cover your expenses.
like you're done. Like that was always like one thing keeping me away from American schools if I wanted to pursue my track and field career, was like I knew like a lot of people who did go to like American schools, and then they were never heard from ever again. Like
Yeah,
they were just dropped because they didn't perform, or whatever, and it's like that does not sound like a good way to go out.
yeah. Even aside from like an athlete, that for your life in general, that doesn't sound too. That's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
To be in a situation where you can just get dropped like that.
honestly.
I mean, it's good for sports, it's good for competition, but at the end of the day, people, the organizers and stuff, it was never about that. It's about breeding the best entertainment.
Yeah.
Which I think, yeah, that was the whole thing with this whole European Super League. It was these billionaire owners running around saying like, listen, this whole sport thing, not profitable. I don't like it. Let's make something where it's assured money every season.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was the big thing this weekend.
All
So
right. Well, we did have one more thing to talk about here, but I think I might honestly try and save that for a full feature-length episode, and just so we can kind of deep dive more into it, because there is more actual research to be done on the topic of.
Star Wars, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Star
So,
Wars.
Star Wars.
No, but like sort of like weight loss products and sort
Yeah.
of diet culture, as well as like influencer culture, and sort of how that affects the industry and stuff like that. I think we can probably save that for an entire separate episode. So I think, yeah, we're about 2 hours, so I think we can probably call it there. Um, but yeah, I would say this format worked well. To our audience, if this is a format that you enjoy more, just kind of listening to us just talk about things, certain issues, weekly news, what's going on in the world, that kind of relates to obviously our theme. We're not just going to talk about world news, but like sports, fitness, health, stuff like that. Anything that kind of affects us personally or stuff that we're interested in. Let us know in the comments and chat. Let us know if this is a format that works better for you. I think it works for us. Like, I was not sure if
This
we'd
is
have enough content to talk about, but we absolutely did, and we still have more we can't talk about, but we're gonna keep it relegated to our general time limit here. But yeah, let us know if this is the style that you prefer, as opposed to I think we're still gonna do like in-depth research episodes, but we might just kind of like alternate and not do them we do it every other week, which I think is a decent schedule for now. But even if we still do, because like David, you're almost done school, right?
I am done school next week, so
Like,
these informal chats will probably become a lot more frequent.
so like even if we just like keep the research episodes to every other week, we go to a weekly format where 1 week we do this, like the barbell and bullshit, we just chat, and then the week after that we hit on a specific issue where we actually do the research and bring that to you guys, and then just kind of alternate with that. um, and then also we're gonna have a lot more time on our hands to start producing actual like YouTube content. So it's not just gonna be the podcast stuff; it's gonna be actual fitness stuff. So we're gonna figure that out. I'm in the process of kind of gathering inspiration from the fitness channels that I like to watch, and kind of using that style a little bit and trying to get influences from that. I know, David, you probably have a whole bunch of
I do. I
YouTuber
gotta.
influences that we can kind of not copy, but trying to emulate and allow us to figure out how we want to start producing these videos. But that is coming, especially with the weather getting nicer. Well, although maybe not today because it did snow last night, but
Don't know
it's
what to say about that.
it's gonna get warmer for sure. So probably, well, we're almost in May now, so certainly by next month, I think we can probably start getting into that. It's gonna be good because I mean we got the time. Uh, Hopefully we don't get arrested for working out in a park. I don't know how any of this works anymore. I don't know what the policy is on going to the park is anymore. I don't even know if parks are open. I have no idea
They're
what's going
not
on.
actually. They're not. They're. I forget the exact thing, but yeah. It's okay. I mean, we've already been put on a blacklist for talking about vaccines anyway, so
Yeah, honestly, we're
this might be the final episode of Fitness Decoded, anyways.
yeah. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. Obviously, we're going to be promoting that as much as we can. In terms of highlights, I'll see what I can pull from this episode. I might just pull David's entire explanation from
For
for
once,
the ESL.
I was actually writing down our timestamps on the side.
Yeah, I might just because like I'm sure quite a few people are wondering what the hell is going on in European football right now. And I feel like that was a pretty definitive explanation of what the hell is going on. Obviously, it's continuing to update, but for the most part,
Yeah,
that was the situation going on over there. So,
we'll have more episodes in the next episode of barbells and bullshit, which we don't know if that's going to be the actual name. It might turn into dumbbells and dumb shit. We haven't solidified that what this series is going to be called.
I have no idea. But for now, it's just a more informal conversation as opposed to just a research breakdown like the past 5 episodes
Five
have been,
episodes.
which
Yeah,
yeah is still a good format, but I don't know.
we're trying to make this a little bit more entertaining and actually like
I think,
yeah, it's more entertaining.
and I don't know about you, but for me, it is getting harder and harder to find like specific topics because like
Yeah,
I only know so much, and at this point, I feel like we've talked about a lot of what I know about, and
me too.
we're getting into the realm of things which I think is good, but the realm of things that I don't really know too much about.
Yeah,
So like trying to create a flowing format to talk about these things is getting harder and harder, at least for me. So having a week where we can just not have to worry about that and just have to uh, just talk about what the hell's going on. Like, I didn't do a whole lot of prep. Like, I basically just thought of what I wanted to talk about, did some light research on it, and we got 2 hours out of it. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Things are moving well with the podcast.
They are. And again, like, we're close to being a Twitch affiliate. We are 10 followers away. I think with today's show, our analytics should be back up to 3 average viewers, because we had around like 4 or 5 viewers for the entire podcast today, so that's pretty good. But yeah, 10 followers. So if you're watching this, make sure you head over to the Twitch channel, give us a follow, and start giving us your Twitch Prime subs. That'd be great. Thank you. But no, if we do eventually start making money off of this, then obviously that gives us the opportunity to create even better content. Start getting the equipment. You can get David a new microphone.
It's coming. It's coming. I need a new laptop too. Damn.
Yeah, get David better recording equipment. But yeah, obviously the more money that gets put into it, the better the quality is going to be. So we're not gonna beg, but if we do end up being eligible for the affiliate status, that'd be fantastic. If we could at least build a community. I think I'm not really here for the money. I'm just here to try and build a community, which obviously comes with a bigger audience, which does have its perks. But having a community that can at least give us active feedback on what they like, what they don't like, and what they want to see in the future is going to be extremely helpful, and it's going to help tailor the kind of vision we have going forward.
Speak for yourself, sir. I'm here for the mammoth mugs.
David is here for the mammoth mugs.
Exclusive for the mammoth mugs.
Yeah, well, if we could become at least worth their time, then I could. Does Mammoth Mug give out sponsorships to like other people? Is that a thing?
I have no idea.
Like, have you ever seen a Mammoth Mug sponsorship?
I have never seen a Mammoth Mug sponsorship, but that does not disqualify us from being the first.
Like, who would? I mean, you have like your top like sponsors. You've got like Honey, Audible, NordVPN.
NordVPN, yeah. I see there's the ramen one on the Star Wars YouTuber I watch.
Really?
Yeah, that's a big one.
There's G Fuel sponsorships. We can get our own G Fuel flavor.
Oh, what am I saying, man? We are in fitness and health. You know how many damn supplement companies there are out there?
Yeah, I know. There's like a bunch of like multivitamin companies and stuff that sponsor, but there's tons of sponsorship opportunities. And
of course, Gymshark.
Oh my goodness. We'll save the Gymshark conversation for the fitness influencer.
When I'm 50 pounds heavier.
Yeah, but yeah, that about concludes today's episode. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up here?
I think we're pretty much good. 2 weeks from now, we'll see everybody again.
Yep, and we'll have killer content for you then as well.
Sir.
All right. Well, until then, peace out, guys. See you 2 weeks.